Hi, everybody. I'm Vicky, and I'm 20 years old. They say every girl dreams of a wedding. Have you dreamed? I definitely have. Watch this video to the end and find out how this dream led to me marrying a monster. I've always had a lot of friends, and all these friends were with boyfriends. As soon as they left school, they all got married. And what about me? I didn't have a long-term relationship. I didn't have a steady boyfriend. Did this mean that I would be alone for the rest of my life? Well, I thought so. It just so happened that after another wedding, John came to work with us. The first thing I thought was, poor thing, so wronged by life. He had a monstrous birthmark on half his face, one shoulder higher than the other, and he had a club foot when walking. But he turned out to be a fun, companionable guy. Other girls shied away from him, and I laughed at his jokes, and everything was fine. Until he started to court me. Is your partner's appearance important to you? I always thought I was better than that, but not that much. I avoided seeing John in every possible way, until one day a former classmate came to see me. She divorced her first husband to marry the second. This was the last straw. I imagined my friends changing husbands 3 at a time, and I wouldn't even hold hands with anyone yet. And John suddenly seemed like a better option. I started flirting with him. John was over the moon. We started dating, and as long as I kept my eyes closed, it was pretty sweet. We'd only been dating for 3 months when John suddenly dropped to one knee in the middle of a restaurant and proposed to me. The applause was uncertain, but I said a happy yes. The wedding was scheduled as soon as possible, as if John was afraid that I would run away from him. All my friends looked at me in tears, and the further I went, the more awkward I became, and then, "Kiss the bride," the priest said, and I shuddered. I should have called it off then, but I put my cheek in front of his mouth and closed my eyes. My palms were sweating. After all, this was clearly not our last kiss. And not just a kiss, a heck. John was a gentleman and didn't bother me after the wedding. We spent our honeymoon apart, he at work and I at my mother's house, sobbing and complaining about my fate. After my honeymoon, I had 1,000 excuses why I couldn't go to bed with my own husband. Sometimes I accidentally fell asleep in the other room, then I had a terrible headache. These days, for me, began to last 2 or 3 weeks, because it was very convenient. 6 months later, I couldn't stand it, and after telling John that I was going to a friend's house, I decided to hang out at a nearby bar. Soon, a guy sat down with me and introduced himself as Damien. He was beautiful. We had a nice chat all evening. I only ran away when the calls to go to his house became quite explicit. I came home late at night, happy and disheveled. I snuck into the kitchen to get a glass of water. I saw John on the balcony. He was crying. No, he was sobbing out loud. Of course, I ran out to him and asked what was wrong. Instead of answering, he pointed from the balcony where he could see the entire street and the bar I hung out at, and the parking lot where Damien and I kissed goodbye. Yes, I pushed him away, but through sobs, John explained that all these months he had been hoping that I really loved him, just was very shy and he didn't want to push. But after what he saw, there was no doubt about it. "I'm such a fool," he said ruefully, and I answered hastily, "No, I'm a fool." God, I was so ashamed. I talked to John all night, and by morning we had decided to file for divorce. I think it was the first sensible decision I made. We got divorced quietly. We had nothing to share. John cheered up a bit and invited me to celebrate at the bar, word for word, and we agreed on the next meeting, and the next one, and more. And you know, lately I've been thinking that John doesn't look so bad, especially in a wedding tuxedo. Love is not an area to rush into, even for a white dress. Or do you think otherwise? Then tell us about it. Also, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and send your own life stories.